I'm guessing everyone in the room has a website, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. You're interested in where you rank on Google, right? That's a concern to us. Because in a way, we're a little bit beholden to Google, aren't we? It's controlling things a little bit. I've got a client up in Scotland who's running a business which is entirely reliant upon search engine rankings, okay? And he can see a difference, a direct difference in the amount of profit he makes every single day, and he can correlate that to the position he is in the Google rank, okay? He went up to number 3 for a brief period this week, and the number of inquiries he got and the number of cars he shifted just went flying up, dropped down to number 4, a noticeable cutoff. So where we rank in Google actually does have an impact on what we do. And I guess the question really that we have to think about is we as business owners have a finite amount of time. In fact, time is probably our most precious resource, okay? And all of this stuff, the social media, the search engine optimization, the managing your website, adding content, all these things, they take time. And if you haven't got time, that means it costs money. So as business owners, we want to know what are the things that really matter, okay? How can we digest this influx of information and get something sensible out of it? So first of all, the answer to the question, does our social media activity affect our Google rankings? Yes, it does. I'm not going to finish there. We'll carry on. Let's change the question. It's not the right question, is it? This is the key word. It's how. How does it do that? That's what we're really interested in. In order to understand how that works, we really need to get a bit of history. Because Google, they're not interested in telling us the answers, okay? Open collaboration is all fine and dandy, but Google is not going to let you anywhere near its algorithm, okay? It's not interested in telling us any of that stuff. So in order to answer the question, we need to use the data that's available to us. And what we're going to do first is have a brief history, okay? We're just going to have a quick look at the way the web's going, and it does have relevance, so bear with me on this one. We're going to look at how complex Google is, just very quickly again, just scrape the surface. I'm going to get a few SEO myths going. I'm just interested in seeing what people are being told, and hopefully we can debunk a few of those. We're going to look at what principal search signals are. If you don't know what a signal is, we're going to tell you. And once we've looked at what the principal search signals are, we can figure out how the social signals that impact our search engine rankings come into play as well. I've got some practical tips and advice for you as well to take away from the workshop. So, evolution of the web. Where have we come from? Where are we going to? Let's think about the computer that you have on your desk, probably at the office, okay? And think about how it's changed in size over the years. It may have got a bit thinner and lighter and slimmer and all the rest of it, but I'll wager that the screen you're using today is much larger than the screen you were using 10 years ago. Would I be right in saying that? I've got the 27-inch iMac sat on my desk, which is bigger than most tellies were, 10 years ago. It's crazy. Fabulous, fabulous piece of kit. So our desktop computers, they're getting, they seem to be getting bigger, not smaller. But then at the other end of the spectrum, we've got the explosion of notebooks. And it's got a dual-core processor and loads of RAM and really fast, and they're brilliant. So miniaturization has taken effect, particularly with laptop use. And these things are so much cheaper now, especially netbooks. You can get a netbook for £200, for goodness sake. A laptop computer that would probably outperform a laptop computer from 5 years ago. Crazy. What about iPhones? Does anyone here not have a smartphone? Let's try that. Wow. And I'm brave enough to admit it as well. Very good. Okay. But our mobile phones, we can use these so we can browse the internet. We can control our presentation, which is quite neat, isn't it? Like that. We can do all sorts of fun stuff with our phones. We can download apps. We can engage with people. We can get on our social networks using our mobile phones. That's an interesting thing. And when we get home, we can use our slightly bigger iPhone without a phone in it, the iPad, the tablet, or whatever. Which is probably competing with the netbook now. A lot of these things getting sold, absolutely crazy. Couldn't understand it when they first came out, but I, like all Apple followers, have dutifully followed suit and bought one, which is what we do. Have a think, though, about how your website has been set up. Is your website set up to run on all of these devices? And I'd say probably not. If your website is using Flash, for instance, then it most certainly does not work on these mobile devices because they don't support Flash. So it's worth knowing that. Does your website display well on a mobile device? Have you tried it? Does it work? Does the interface work? Does it, if you're using drop-down menus, they can be a little bit clunky, can't they, on mobile devices? So have you tested that to find out if it works? So when I started out building commercial websites, I had a 28.8K modem. It was not fast. You didn't download 10 meg files. You just didn't do that sort of thing. You didn't have an hour to waste on waiting for something to download like that. But we're talking about a different time where software came on floppy disks. You know, it's a completely different kettle of fish now. Here we are with the introduction of superfast broadband, and we're talking just a couple of seconds to get this kind of amount of data down. And this opens up new possibilities. It makes video on the web not only a realistic possibility, it's almost something that you must do. Where are we going with this? Already in London, you can have 24 megabit mobile broadband through the 3 network. 4G mobile is imminent. It's already being tested in certain parts of the UK, and that will give speeds up to 80 megabits. That is twice the speed that BT Infinity will be running at. So in other words, within a space of a few years, we could see a situation where you get faster speed over the airwaves to your mobile device than you do through your landline to your house. And that really just reflects the shift in how we're using the internet and how we're using devices, and that affects the shift on how Google's looking at what we do as well. Now, just to make you all sick, anyone want to hazard a guess at how long it takes to download that file at our server farm?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Let's go in rural areas or not?
0.08 seconds. We have a 1 gigabit connection. That's in Portsmouth, not in Somerset. True enough. But our office actually is on the Dillington estate, and we get over 10 megabits broadband. Okay, so some areas of Somerset are better than others. My house is in a rural location, and it's rubbish, and I use mobile broadband on 3 because I can get just over 2 megabits. Very good solution. Satellite broadband is now also very cheap. So here we go. We're changing the way that we use things. We used to have a computer at home, and it was probably on one of those Argos desks with the keyboard tray and no space for your mouse. You remember those? You have one of those? Everyone's had one of those. Dire things. Okay, you're looking at websites that maybe had one image and a load of text, because that's all we could chuck down a 28.8K modem line. You couldn't get video down. It wouldn't have worked. So things have changed, and a lot of families didn't even have a computer. They were expensive. You might have had a computer at work, and then when you did get one at home, did you have, you probably just had one, didn't you? One family computer. Now, all the kids have got their own iPad and netbook and laptop and computer in their room and all the rest of it. And we're using our increased internet connectivity to get movies off of Netflix. We're watching TV on iPlayer. We can do that through all our games consoles now, incidentally. iPlayer's on all games consoles. And most TVs that you're going to buy nowadays have got iPlayer in them, internet connection on your TV. Have a look at the way search engines have evolved. We start with Archie. That was the first ever search engine. That was just slightly before my time. I started with when Hotbot was king. And I used to build a web page, and I'd upload it, submit it to Hotbot, wait 5 minutes, tweak the keywords, resubmit it, wait 5 minutes, tweak the keywords. And if you couldn't get to the top, just pop XXX in the keywords, and off you went. Easy peasy. But Google changed things. They changed the landscape of search, because what had happened previously is all these search engines, they were just looking at keyword relevance in your website. That's all they were interested in. So what makes Google tick? What makes it different? You've got to have the relevance. That's fairly obvious. I think we all understand that, don't we? The keywords have got to appear in the page and in the titles and all the rest of it. That's fairly straightforward. Google introduced this new thing, this popularity. They wanted to gauge how popular your website is. And how did they go about doing that? How did they translate this idea of citation or popularity to the web? Well, they did it through links, inbound links. And when we're talking about inbound links, we're talking about another website linking to yours. Okay, let's be clear on that. So if you had lots of other websites linking to you, you must be popular, you must be an authority on the topic, your website must be good, therefore we'll rank you higher. Let's just take a step back a moment and work out just how smart Google is, because we heard Dr. Cochrane talking about Watson. Did you find that fascinating? Disturbing? Okay, if we're searching for Kofi Annan and we've spelt it wrong, Google returns results for Kofi Annan. It knows what we're looking for. But use the same misspelling for coffee beans and you'll get results for coffee beans. How does Google do that? How does it know? It's a machine. It's a series of computers connected together, collecting data. How does it know how to do this? What about synonyms? Again, we understand that the abbreviation DR could mean drive or doctor, depending on the context in which it's used. So context has an implication, and Google understands that. It gets those things right. Not only does context have an implication, so does localization, because AB in America might mean airbase, but AB in Canada means Alberta. So Google gets it right, knows how to do this. It does it in numerous languages and in numerous localities. It's doing all of this stuff. And here's a really amazing thing. Google understands what you're typing in. So if you type in New York Times Square Church, you get results for the church in Times Square, New York. You do not get articles about square churches in the New York Times. How does that work? How does Google do that? It's actually really simple. The answer is much simpler than you might think it is. They have teams of people. They watch every time you search, and they're collecting data on whether or not you've gone to your destination. You see, Google works entirely differently to your website. You want people to stay on your website for as long as possible and hopefully buy product or service from you or make an inquiry. Google wants people to get off its website as fast as possible. And they track their general success in doing that. So if they find a particular key phrase which is consistently not performing, a team of people will look at it and they'll correct these things. Okay, that's how it does it, and it gets better and better, and the thing just grows and grows and grows, and you end up with this enormous intelligence that can then be used to deliver results. But just think about this from the point of view of the content that you're writing. If Google understands what you're typing into its search query box, Google understands what's written on your page. If you've written your content specifically for a search engine and stuffed it full of keywords, Google knows you've done that. It's smart. You cannot outsmart Google, and the reason why is because they've invested a huge amount of time. It beggars belief, 1,000 cumulative years, and that stat came 4 or 5 years ago, so it must be significantly more than that now. And that's development gone just into the algorithms. And these algorithms, they're updated as often as 10 times a week. It's constant changes. So when things are changing in the internet landscape and social media networks are changing and what people are doing, Google's constantly changing to keep up with the times. It employs more than 30,000 people as of the start of this year in order to do that in locations all around the world. A few myths, or possibly not myths, just to mix it up a little bit. Might be 1 or 2 trick ones in there for all you know. Has anyone ever heard this before? Don't worry about what a keyword tag is if you don't know, but have you ever been told that meta keyword tags are essential for search engine success? Yeah. Were you told that recently, by any chance? No? Okay, good. In the last workshop, someone had been told, like, just recently that that's right. It's totally wrong. Google's not interested in what you say your website is about. It doesn't need to be interested in what you say your website's about. It's smart enough to work it out for itself. It's all about your PageRank score? No, it's not. Google's been reducing the impact of PageRank for the last few years, significantly. You need reciprocal links or link exchange programs in order to get up the search engine ranks. No, you don't. They don't work anymore. Google doesn't pass benefit for links where you've got a I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine kind of relationship. And yes, it can detect those. You need millions and millions of links, the more the better, in order to survive. No, you don't at all. You don't need quantity, you need quality. You need the links that are coming to your website to be relevant to your content and to have authority. Okay? This is where social media is going to start to come in. We're working there. We're getting there. Such and such a company phones you up and says, we can get you on the first page of Google, blah, 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 we can guarantee you a #1 spot. No, they can't. Google doesn't offer that service. So how can they offer it? Read the small print. Don't get ripped off.
Sorry, we were recently approached by BT. Has anyone else been approached by BT recently offering this?
What they'll do is they'll sell you Google AdWords, which you can do yourself, and they'll get you to the top for your company name, which anybody could do. So it's, don't waste your money on it. Put your money somewhere else where it's going to be well used. Page titles, hugely important to your search engine rankings. That one is true. Definitely, definitely. If you only take one thing away today, make sure you go through your page titles on your website. The number of websites I see with just the company name in the page title, or even worse, untitled page. It's always a particular favorite. That's the title that you see on the top of the browser bar. That's the title that you see in the Google search results. So these are things that don't work.
So you're saying the page title shouldn't be something like page3.html?
No.
It should be
keywords.
special widget.
Keywords, yeah, but don't overdo it. Just one or two, all right? Okay, so we know what doesn't really work. Question is, what does work? Well, we need to work out what are the principal search signals. Actually, this isn't that difficult. But first of all, what's a search signal? Well, an inbound link to your website, that's a signal. A keyword in the right place on your website, that's a signal. Somebody not bouncing back to the search engine results the minute they hit your page, that's a signal. Okay? Google uses that, and it has over 200 signals that it's actively checking for your algorithm. No, I don't have a list, before anyone asks. Okay? Google don't give it out. It's a secret. So how can we find out? Well, we have to look at the data that's out there. We have to look at the way things are working. And we go to the experts that are all talking to each other, and they give us the answer. And this is your answer. This is what it's all about. Funnily enough, nothing's changed. It's still about content and links. Social media comes in and changes that ball game, but only slightly. These principal signals are still the same. You've got to have content, and it needs to be fresh. It needs to be appealing. You're putting stuff out there that you want people to read and enjoy and share. Social media plays a role in influencing search engine results, definitely does. So what you're going to learn at the workshops today, you simply have to put that into use for your business in one way or another. It gives preference based on the authority of the author. We know that. If Stephen Fry tweets a link to your website, that's going to be much more valid than somebody who's only got 2 followers. Okay? So same things that were true of links are true of social media. Google's also looking at circles. Okay, so it's looking at your circle of contacts and other circles of contacts and where they overlap. So if you've got all your mates to tweet links to your website and they're all within your circle of friends on Twitter and Facebook, Google will detect that. It knows it's all your mates, so it knows how to rank you accordingly. It also knows if it's not your mates that are talking about your website, and then it can rank that accordingly as well. Google is really, really smart at doing these things. Signals to look for. So 132 SEO and social media experts were asked to rank 10 signals. And what they were trying to do was to look at those which are going to be used increasingly and those which are going to be used decreasingly. And this is the list in the order that they presented it. The most important thing being your value to users. If your website is an information page about your company, that has no value to a user, unless they're specifically searching for your company. It has value to you, and it has value to an existing customer, but it doesn't have any value to anybody else, not really. Give something away. Your opinion is interesting. People want to know about it. Are you an expert in your field? Talk about it. These kind of things are what will bring people to your website, which will motivate them to share your content across the social networks. And that's important because the second most important thing we now believe is going to be social signals at a page level, so specific pages on your website being shared around the social networks. We think that's going to be huge. We then think it's going to be social signals at a domain level because Google is capable of looking at all the individual pages and aggregating it all and having a look and saying, right, your website, this is good. Okay, and it gets an overall viewpoint. Google tracks usage data. Touched on this earlier. If you click on a result in the search engine and you go to a website and you bounce straight back to the search results, Google tracks that. That's what we call a bounce rate. And Google factors that in. That's one of Google's signals. It factors it into its algorithm. So if your page is no good and people are bouncing straight back to the search, Google will stop ranking you quite so well for that particular key phrase. What's hugely important is the readability, usability of your content. Can people get to it? And the design of it. Does it look good? If you've got too many adverts on there, that's going to impact you badly. These are the things that are going to be decreasingly used, that we believe. Things like anchor text and external links. This comes to what you were talking about, sir. Which order do I put stuff in? All of that kind of thing. I don't think that really matters quite so much. All of these things come under a particular category. And it's a pet hate of Google. And it always has been a pet hate of Google. Nothing has changed. Google hates SEO. They hate it. because they don't want you to manipulate the results. They've invested all this time and money and energy into making the thing so smart, it doesn't need your input. So how do we do it? It's really, really simple, folks. Share your content. All of these networks, you can link them all together. You can link Twitter to Facebook, to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to your website, even to your blog. You can, if you've got a decent strategy, when you post a bit of content, you can share it automatically on Twitter. Other people can find it, they can share it as well. Then you let a network of people decide whether your website's any good. And Google will be the barometer of that success. And I guarantee to you, if you're writing great content and you're interacting with your customers, you will rank higher in the search engine results. We've proven it numerous times with our customers. Okay? It definitely works. My top tips. We're also going to publish these on our website, so grab a card at the back if you want to get these. But get onto Google Webmaster Tools. You might be using analytics, but have you used Webmaster Tools? Because it will tell you if you've, for instance, duplicated your page titles throughout your website and things like that. Really useful. Make sure you've optimized those page titles. Try and use the correct HTML throughout your website. And if you don't know how to do it, hire somebody that does know what they're doing. And the keywords here are web standards. Okay, so type that into Google or chat to me later over lunch. Add a sharing widget to your website. If you go to addthis.com, you can, within 2 minutes, have a social media sharing widget on your website, provided you've got access to the code or CMS for your website. It's so simple. Choose the one you want, copy and paste. Job done. Then on every page, somebody can share your content across. There are other ones available that do the same thing. They all make it very easy to do. Even if you're not going to use Facebook and Twitter yet, set up the pages, reserve the names. Okay, so that's worth doing. Share all your content via Facebook and Twitter if you can do it. Consider setting up a company blog. WordPress is brilliant. Google loves it. You will get instant, amazing results in Google, and it's free. Make use of URL shortening services. If that sounds a bit advanced, then don't worry about it. But if you know what that means, make use of them. Okay? Do some continuity and disaster planning. What happens if someone badmouths you on Twitter? What's your response going to be? How do you deal with those situations? What happens if the person assigned to deal with your Twitter account goes on holiday for 2 weeks? Where's the continuity? Have a think about that. And of all of them, the number one tip for your own personal sanity, don't spend your life hitting refresh on the Google search page, okay, just to check where you are. And I've got clients that do that and then phone me up to give me updates, which is lovely. Write great content that people want to read. Don't be a PR foghorn. You've got to give people something. You've got to give them something of value. They expect it. They expect something for nothing these days. That's the way things are. If all you're doing is writing about your company and how brilliant you are and how this new product's amazing, and you can do that, but you need to also be giving at the same time. Okay? Video. We mentioned YouTube. Like video, you can shoot full HD video on an iPhone, or you can go to Asda and get a little camcorder for £100 or whatever it is. Perfectly acceptable video quality for YouTube. They're not expecting a Hollywood production, folks. Okay? Video is amazing. It's a great way to tell your story. Absolutely brilliant. And anybody doing e-commerce in the room? Images. Great images make all the difference. When you walk into a shop, all of your senses are being assaulted, aren't they, at the same time? You're hearing things, you're smelling things, you're looking at things. None of that happens on your website. All they've got to go on for this product is an image. Or if you're quite savvy, some customer reviews. Okay? Very neat way of getting great Google results. Great images, though, make a huge difference. Think about the quality of your website. If you invest your time into the quality of the content that you create, Google will come knocking at your door instead of you knocking at its door. And that's the difference. If you can master the art of social media, and it may be that not everything is for you. Okay? It may be that not all of these tools work for you. It may be like the bakery, you just need one tool to do one job, and that's going to solve your problem. Maybe you've got to do a bit more. Whatever you do, just make sure that what you do is good. Make sure that what you're giving to people is of high quality. If it's an article you've written, make sure it's something you would want to read. Would you go out of your way to read it, and would you go out of your way to share it? That's the important thing. If you're doing all of this stuff, Google is watching, okay? It's not interested in your little SEO efforts anymore at all. What it wants is to see that other people enjoy your website. And if it sees that, it will rank you higher. That's how social media affects your search engine rankings. Got to call it a day there. Thank you very much, folks.